Hi, I am Tammy Marshall, and today I'm going to share with you the prologue of my sixth novel, which is called Her Ride or Die. It's a suspense, mystery, ghost story involving a motorcycle. And I don't have an actual physical copy with me yet. They are on order and they are available to order as paperback or an ebook. And I will put the link in the comments. So I'm actually just going to be reading to you from my laptop. And I will try to include a photo of the actual cover of the book in the comment or at the beginning of this in the thumbnail. So here's the prologue of Her Ride or Die. The prologue is called Just My Luck. The cop squinted at the motorcycle through his windshield, toggled his mic, and said, "This is Corporal Encino. I've got a motorcycle, possibly broken down about 5 miles outside of town. No driver in sight. Currently off duty and heading home for the evening, but I'm going to check it out. I'll radio back if I need help. Over." He didn't wait for confirmation from dispatch. The area was isolated and the bike seemed abandoned. Placing his patrol hat snugly on his head, he exited his cruiser and approached the motorcycle. He walked around the bike, studying it and the rock-covered shoulder where it was parked. The bike was a newer model and still in pristine condition. It would appear that its driver had abandoned it, though. He reached out his gloved hand, unscrewed the gas cap, and nudged the bike just enough to cause the gas to slosh against the side of the tank. He shone his pen light into the tank and noted that there was plenty of gas in it and nothing else that might have clogged the fuel line. Next, he squatted and eyeballed each tire. They were fully inflated. He carefully studied all the connecting wires that were visible, but everything seemed intact and as it should be. He opened the pouch that was mounted behind the windshield. It only contained a tube of chapstick and a couple bandanas. Next, he opened one of the saddlebags and was in the process of probing its contents when a state patrol cruiser pulled up alongside him. "Just my luck," he muttered. He turned away from the bike and nodded at the other officer through his open passenger window. "What you got there?" the cop asked him. Corporal Encino glanced at the young man's badge and saw that his name was Jurgens. He shrugged. "It seems to be an abandoned bike." Officer Jurgens craned his neck to look around Encino. "That's a nice one. Can't imagine why anyone would abandon it here. Maybe the rider wandered off to take a whiz or a nap. Did you check behind those trees over there?" He nodded toward a stand of fir trees that served as a windbreak in the corner of a nearby pasture. Encino shook his head. "Not yet. Haven't been here all that long. Figured if the owner were nearby, he'd have shown himself by now." He cleared his throat and spit onto the road next to the idling cruiser. Jurgens scowled and patted his steering wheel. "I'll help you look." Jurgens eased his car toward the opposite shoulder. "You really don't have to," Encino called after him. "It's just an abandoned bike. I'll call for a tow. No need for you to bother." Jurgens parked his cruiser, stepped out of it, and donned a pair of sunglasses. "It's no bother. I was in the area when I heard your radio call. Besides, you're a little out of your jurisdiction, aren't you?" He pointed to the side of Encino's car, where the City of Grand Island insignia was prominently displayed. Encino nodded. "Was on my way home. Saw the bike. And thought I'd stop to see if there was a stranded motorist in need of assistance." He shrugged. "So far, though, no motorist." The young man looked up and down the empty road. "We'll scour the nearby area, and if we don't find anyone, then you can call for that tow." "All right." Corporal Encino pointed his chin toward the south. "You check both sides of the road back that way, and I'll look up this way." He swung his chin in the opposite direction. Jurgens nodded and headed toward the ditch behind Encino's cruiser. Encino walked back to the bike and made a quick search of the saddlebags before closing and relatching them. Then he ambled ahead of the bike a few yards before stepping off the road and walking toward the fir trees that Jurgens had indicated, studying the ground around him as he went. There were no noticeable tracks, but the ground was hard from the lack of moisture. He circled each tree as best he could and yelled a few times, "Anyone here?" Only some nearby cattle replied with gentle lowing as they munched on a bundle of hay. He emerged from the trees and called to Jurgens. "No one's here. I'll radio for that tow and we'll get a registration on the bike. Should be able to track down the owner from that." Jurgens finished his sweep of the ditches behind their cruisers before meeting Encino next to his vehicle. Jurgens pointed ahead of them. "I'll drive on a bit and see if I come across anyone walking down the road." Encino sighed and muttered, "Suit yourself. I don't see anything wrong with the bike, so I don't know why the rider would walk off and leave it here." Could be a medical thing," Jurgens said. Encino eyed the other man. "Don't you think he'd still be around here if he had a medical emergency, or that he would have called for help?" Jurgens removed his sunglasses and squinted into the sun for a moment. "Cell signal is really weak around here." He moved toward his cruiser. "I'll let you know if I come across a bikeless rider. You call for that tow." Encino nodded and watched Jurgens get into his car. The young man slowly drove away, keeping his cruiser in the middle of the road. Encino's gaze fell upon the bike again, and he studied it from behind. Nothing seemed out of place or wrong with it. He was about to look it over once more when he noticed the brake lights come on in Jurgens' cruiser about 100 yards down the road. He watched the younger man step out of his car, walk around the front of it, and peer into the deep ditch that ran alongside the road. Encino's vest radio crackled to life, and Jurgens said, "Found your rider. Almost drove past him, but the sunlight reflected off his helmet visor. Poor bastard's not wearing it, though. He's deceased, that's for sure. Might be a suicide. Better call it in." Encino swore under his breath and then replied, "Copy that." He scanned the bike once more and then opened the door to his vehicle. Before pulling forward to assist Officer Jurgens, he placed a call for a coroner and a tow truck to take the bike to the impound lot. Then he shook his head and muttered, "Just my luck." Thank you for joining me. I'll post more later. Again, the book is called Her Ride or Die, and I'm Tammy Marshall, the author.